Hey guys, Mary and Joe here. Welcome to Live, Fit, and Thrive. We appreciate you, and we are excited to share some new information with you on our podcast. Join us every other week. We will be on Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, IG, Facebook. You can find us. At the end, you'll see all that information so you can subscribe to our podcast. Today, it's Mary and Joe. We're going to talk a little bit about RPM. What is that? It's a regenerative plasma matrix. In fact, Joe is in the lab today doing some procedures. So why don't you tell us about your day in the lab?
Well, that's why we have the surgical cap and the task light on today, guys. I just got finished up, and I'd like to dive in a little bit on what we do in regenerative medicine and what we're able to do that no one else in the area is actually in our space. And that is being able to harvest stem cells, your own stem cells, and we can take those stem cells and use them for various procedures. The most exciting part of this is we're able to take your stem cells, we can utilize them for longevity. And longevity is a hot topic right now. There's a longevity doctor on every corner now. But know that we're pioneers. We started in the longevity space decades ago, and we are on the cutting edge of perfecting every day our services and our protocols and our procedures for our patients. We teamed up with Cell Surgical Network out of California. That group has a program that allows us to harvest your stem cells from your fat and utilize them for what I just mentioned a couple minutes ago. We're able to utilize it for aesthetics, for example, hair restoration, stem cell facelifts, and then we can process it for an IV infusion. That IV infusion is really important because for millennia, man has been looking for the holy grail of eternity. Now, this isn't eternity by any means, but when we look at why we age, the cells become damaged just due to the aging process. We age because of something called low-grade inflammation, inflammaging. Stem cells love to do two things. They love to go clean up that inflammaging, and they love to seek out where our cells are aging or damaged due to aging, and get to those cells and restore that cell function, structure and function of organs, systems in the body, called homeostasis. We have the opportunity through Cell Surgical Network to harvest your stem cells and actually bank them. We can bank them in this country. No longer do you have to go overseas. You don't have to go to all these countries offshore and have a stem cell procedure. We are able to utilize your own natural healing cells and growth factors in a natural healing process. So we're excited about this because bringing this to our patients is a cutting-edge procedure and cutting-edge science in the science of human aging. And we're able to tackle to the best way we know currently to enhance our quality of life and in hopes to prolong our lifespan.
So, Mary, do you like what I said?
I do. You know, it led me to some thoughts and questions. Like, for instance, what's the minimum age that most of your patients?
That's a great question because we know with our ability now looking at biological markers of aging, what's called epigenetic age, most importantly. There are others, but if we look at the DNA expression in a human being, that means how healthy is our DNA in each cell. Up to a certain point, human species is in a developmental stage. That means we're not aging. That starts, from before birth. The fetus starts to develop, and then we're born, and then we grow, and then we develop to a certain point. And at some point in time, the DNA expresses an aging expression. That means around age 25, we start aging. So if we're looking for the youngest cells in humans, it's prior to that person's age of 25.
Okay, and then when you say we can bank them and expand them, and they're yours, I think, if I recall correctly, you said they're yours for life, essentially, for several generations. Is that something that you bank and do one time, and then you can reuse that same whatever fat-derived stem cell, they expand it, and that's something that you can continue to use throughout your lifetime?
So we work with Cell Surgical Network, and we are able to harvest your cells, send them to a stem cell bank in Florida. And when we need them, we just call them up and say, I need 100 million stem cells for this patient. They will expand them. And this is all done under the guise of the FDA. And we can expand them, and they're shipped here, and then we can utilize them or use them in the ways we see fit. And that is what I mentioned a couple of minutes ago. We can use it for aesthetics applications, procedures. We can use it for IV infusions, for a health IV. We can inject it into joints. We can use it for sexual performance, skin rejuvenation. So this is very exciting, and we're able to do this now. So we are excited to bring that to our patients here and our patients in Dallas. The fact that we are able to use these cells now is very exciting to me, because being in this space for 25 plus years, the science of human aging and living fit to thrive is becoming more and more attainable.
No, it's exciting, especially since it's natural healing, right? Being in a regenerative space, people are coming to us for aesthetics, right? And they want filler, Dysport, Botox, and I get that. However, we're looking more for long-term healing, right? Something where you stimulate collagen, growth factors on your own, derived from...
Well, you take the growth factors, and we know there's growth factors that, and healing substances in our plasma and in our cells or in our fat and in our bone marrow that we're the experts at isolating them and redirecting them into areas that need repair. Remember what I mentioned? We age because we're inflamed.
Right.
And that aging ends up with damage to tissue, and our cells, or cells that are capable of natural healing, can go in and handle all this damage and handle all the inflammation. So it's very exciting.
Now, is there, now when you say there's a preparatory phase, what are your favorite supplements that you like to recommend, and or the preparatory stage, and how soon do you like to do that?
So we like to stay, one step ahead of everyone else, and we've been working on this a long time. And, there's no way I'm going to give away all those secrets. But I'll tell you a few things. We do have a proprietary preparation for harvesting cells, for harvesting growth factors, et cetera, that or isolating them from your body. So it's something called autologous. Autologous is really important because in the era of COVID and this pandemic, we're concerned. I'm concerned about using tissue and from other humans and using them in my patients. So we've worked very diligently to create these programs that are all autologous. That means it comes from the patient himself or herself. And we know that all of us have amazing power to heal. We have these cells and substances that are in our blood, in our fat, in our bone marrow, that we know how to isolate now and redirect into areas that we want to rejuvenate, regenerate. That's exciting.
So with regards to preparing them,
You notice I dodged the question.
Did. Yeah, but I brought it right back. So what are some of the supplements that you recommend?
Most importantly, what we do is we know that, and a lot of our patients are, let's say, 40, 50 plus, and everything in the body is, as I mentioned, starting at age 25, has a tendency to start slowing down a little bit. So we want to optimize cell function. That is utilizing things like NAD, NMN compounds, nutraceuticals, supplements that increase the level of NAD in the cell. That optimizes the cell to function. That includes stem cells. That includes regenerative cells. So what we focus on before we do our procedure is activating these cells wherever they are, mobilizing these cells, getting them to move into the bloodstream, getting them to getting ready to mobilize, and then optimizing their ability when they get to that tissue, they get to the damaged tissue, to be able to go to work. So there's three phases that, we're not going to dig in too deeply about them, but the power of the associated nutraceuticals that optimize immune function also are important for stem cell function, regenerative cell function. So mushrooms, mushroom extracts, fucoitin is very, very important. There's a long list of that we've consolidated and keep continuing to improve that we provide our patients for about 2 weeks prior to their procedure.
Now, have you ever had this done yourself?
Ever had what done?
This procedure done on yourself?
I have. And
What was your experience?
well, it's like many other patients' experiences. Everybody's a little bit different. When we have a patient and we counsel them through the process, and we let them know that the expectations are really a run the gamut from, you may not feel anything because you're so darn healthy and you're just going to look at the biological markers of aging. I've certainly experienced over the last year or two with my patients, when we provide these regenerative procedures or regenerative therapies, the natural healing therapies to our patients, and we look at their biological markers of aging, they start reversing, they start decreasing their biological age, improving their biological age pretty dramatically. And I've been at this a long time, and this is the most dramatic change I've ever seen in my patients and our patients here. So there may not be any clinical sense that, hey, I feel better, I feel more energy, but 6 months later, we start seeing these patients looking younger from the biological markers of aging. Some patients will have an immediate, in a matter of hours to days to weeks, improvement of energy, because anytime we clean up inflammation in the human body, the energy pathways come back online and are optimized. So all of a sudden your brain comes back online. There's no brain fog. Your acuity is actually really spot on. Your energy to go to the gym and work out, your muscles are optimized. So they're back online, and you do a great workout. Those are reported from our patients. That's anecdotal. So, but that's what we see. Some patients who are actually, we're treating for autoimmune issues, for example, will start feeling a little down, little energy drain, because we're cleaning up damage. And we clean up damage the body needs, requires energy to drive those that repair. And then after that repair is underway and improved, then their energy takes off. So there's a couple of different responses based on really the health of the patient.
Now, you had mentioned some biomarkers, and I'm familiar with them myself too, but maybe our audience aren't, with regards to like what type of tests do you like to run as just a basic biomarker, and then more elegant biomarker as we do these procedures?
I keep mentioning, I've been in the longevity space 25 years, and we look at the simple, easy, low-hanging fruit labs that we can do before these sophisticated biological markers of aging came online. And it was looking at kidney function, BUN creatinine, something you can get at the simple laboratory draw. Liver function, GGT, ferritin, all these markers of inflammation that we know are associated with aging, and we see those improve. Now we're blessed that the science is really focused on how do we identify a human's pace of aging, what their current biological markers of aging are. So now we have epigenetic age, intrinsic, extrinsic, but those are capable of looking at the changes in our DNA and comparing them to linking them to someone's age. So someone might be 50 and their epigenetic age might be 40. And we know with the science and the data that we have, the younger you are, your biological markers of aging, the lower your risk of developing a disease of aging. The disease that everyone gets some point in time in their life. Somebody might get diabetes, somebody might get heart disease, kidney disease, somebody might get Alzheimer's or dementia. It is a combination of someone's genetics, how they live their life. That's why we live fit and thrive, because the most impactful thing that we can do is on a daily basis make good
decisions and what we put in our bodies every day, embrace restorative sleep, manage stress. Those are the most important things that have a huge impact on those biological markers of age. I always tell patients, look, we can measure all these things and I can give you all the best science right now, but we're going to be blunted. We're going to be swimming upstream a little bit if we don't engage and intervene as lifestyle practitioners, which is the most important. That is the biggest impact you can have on lifespan and health span.
Yeah, well said. I completely agree. We're not with our patients all the time. And if we're not engaging with their healthy decisions, minute to minute, we're making 1,000 decisions a day, right? I don't know if that's the correct quote, but really just kind of changing that mindset. So as you mentioned, what kind of determines our age, as you said, was epigenetics, right? How our genes are expressed. You can't change DNA, of course, but we can change at least the way they're expressed. And there are certain supplements, there are certain meditation techniques we can do, stress techniques that we can, and I'm sure based on your experience, you've seen where you've done certain biomarkers, looked at the way they're methylations, right? And then done the therapy, and then 6 months later, check them again, and you've seen a significant improvement in their epigenetic age, for instance, or their risk for certain diseases, right?
Yeah, and that's where we start. Right. Then we can dig deeper. We're pretty sophisticated in understanding various disciplines that we can apply to our patients that are well studied. For example, you said we can't change our DNA, make our brown eyes blue, but the DNA damage that we accumulate over life, especially as we start into the aging phase, predisposes us for the diseases that we don't want to get shorten our lifespan. And for example, I co-authored a book on peptides, and peptides, if you choose them correctly, and that's where you come to a practice such as ours, because we are the experts in peptides. We are the experts that say we can use, for example, something called GHK. GHK has been studied for 50 years with great depth of understanding. For example, there's a database in Harvard. The Harvard database says, you know what? We cycle GHK, which is a naturally occurring peptide in the human body, but we start losing it as we age. So we do therapies with GHK, for example, and it's been shown with all the research to actually turn on the enzymes, turn on the pathways that reverse DNA damage. Fundamentally, we start aging because we damage our DNA, and that starts with lifestyle. And then it goes to environment. We can't control the environment. We can to a degree. We're surrounded by plastics. Microplastics damage our DNA. So some things we can control, some things we can minimize. But most importantly, there is evidence that we might be able to reverse that damage through certain peptides that we can prescribe. We can show you those data that the enzymes that reverse DNA damage help heal the DNA damage driven by GHK.
And they also make it topically. I have a GHK.
You can do it topically, systemically. And we provide that.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's exciting. I love GHK. In fact, I'm on it myself. So I do notice a difference in my skin health.
Well, we cycle it. We cycle everything in our practice. It makes sense to give the body a little break. But especially peptides that are proteins, amino acid sequences, that's getting a little geeky. But point is we know how to prescribe them, so we optimize the response. Rewind 3, 4, 5 years ago, patients would be prescribed maybe 1 round twice a year. Now we do 3 times a year. Now we do 4 times a year. Now I do most of the time because I don't see significant downside. There's no side effects. And then we give the body a little break and then we start them again. So if you come in and talk to us about longevity medicine, you're going to hear about everything from regenerative cells, stem cells, to peptides. So very robust, a very powerful program that we have for longevity.
That's exciting. Would love to learn more about, peptides. So stay tuned to more podcasts as we continue. And just so you know, what we prescribe here all made at a sterile compounding pharmacy. I wouldn't get your peptides from online sources because of sterility and manufacturing processes. You want to make sure they have certifications, GMP, CLIA certified through the board, or at least state board inspected. Just know that those are the partnerships that we have here, and as well as the backing. So of course we have other practitioners we work with, and Dr. Joe actually educates on the small chain amino acids, if you will. That's what we call them, right? They're amino acids. Because there is a cliche now behind the word peptides, right? So it's a matter of using them safely and appropriately and not making claims, which we don't, right? We just say that it can help. And we just want to make sure you guys are all aware of that we're not making any claims. You know, even with stem cells, these are natural healing processes, and we use this that are autologous from your body. So, but we thank you for your time today. We thank you for listening to us. Is there anything that you want to say, closing remarks?
No, I got to get back to the lab and get back to work. So
right now,
I'm ready to get this this cap off my head so I can go out and relax a little bit.
Well, stay tuned for some more podcasts. We appreciate your time and listening to us.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.